Home Affairs Minister Dr. Motsoaledi joins us now for a discussion and to just also bring us up to speed with some of the more pertinent findings of this report. Minister, good to see you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Sakina. Good morning to the viewers and listeners out there.
Minister,
thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much for speaking to us this morning, because I must say, just listening to your presentation and listening to Dr. Cassius Lubisi yesterday in Parliament, it was absolutely flabbergasting and hair-raising, some of the findings that came out. A 25-year-old looking to retire, they say South Africa is the place to come because we have in South Africa had those sort of permits being issued to foreigners. You can retire at 25. So without getting ahead of myself, Minister, perhaps I should afford you the opportunity just to give an overview of some of the findings into these anomalies.
Thank you, Sakina. Well, it will become necessary for me to outline why I put up the committee. Then you will understand the anomalies that were found. Sometimes in 2020, after Reverend Bushiri escaped South Africa, we discovered in the Department of Home Affairs that the things for which the Hawks were looking for I mean, you are aware that he was arrested by the Hawks. He was able to do those things because he was a permanent resident of South Africa. In other words, he had a permanent residence permit. And we found that it was acquired very irregularly in a fraudulent manner, him and his family. I then learned immediately thereafter from some officials that even Omotoso, the Reverend Omotoso, who is being charged for rape in the Eastern Cape, it looks like it's a similar thing. While I was still mulling over this, we received a petition. We have just hired an advocate who's the head of our anti-corruption unit, and she hit the ground running. She was arresting, investigating, suspending people. We then received a petition from 14 people working in the permitting section. That's where they give all those documents you have mentioned, Sakina. They wrote a petition and said, can the anti-corruption unit please stop investigating our errors? Please stop. Don't investigate us. We are committing errors, but don't do anything. This was a shocking revelation or a shocking statement. My question was, if it is true there are errors, to what extent are we running South Africa Department of Home Affairs permitting system in an erroneous way? Does it mean there are people here who are naturalized citizens erroneously? There are people who are running huge businesses, having corporate visas erroneously, study visas, and it was quite scary. But the second thing was, what if these are not errors? And it so happened that with the findings of this committee, they happen not to be. So I said, no, let me put up this committee of very prominent people, some of whom are investigators in the former Scorpions, SIU, in the present Zondo Commission. That's the type of team I put up. Others are in the legal profession. As you know, Cassius Lubisi was a long-term civil servant. So I put them together. And indeed, they found that these are not errors. These are systematic corruption practices that are happening in the permitting section.
Now, Minister, again, just on a point of clarity for those who may not have been following this issue, you then issued, instruction for these investigations to take place, and this is into the issuing of all permits granted to foreign nationals since 2004 in the various categories.
Yeah, indeed. We chose 2004 because that is the year in which the South African Immigration Act of 2002 came into operation. It came into operation in 2004. So I said that the best way to investigate these so-called errors of what's going on there, why are the Bushiris of this world just getting permits like that? I said the team must review each and every permit in that particular category which were issued since 2004. The permanent residence permit, the naturalization, the temporary permits, the study visas, the scarce skill visas, the corporate visas, the work visas, the retirement visas. I said all those must be reviewed. And that's why they went with a huge load of data, because they were reviewing them one by one to see if they were allocated in a proper way in terms of the immigration law, or whether they were done in terms of these so-called errors which the petition was mentioning.
So, Minister, just in broad strokes, because obviously we don't have too much time, but just to look at some of those findings. So, forum shopping. And, you made a very pertinent example of someone coming to South Africa, for example, on a tourist visa. They're sitting on the beach and then they decide, oh, hold on, I'm now going to try and apply for asylum status. And if that doesn't work, you go on to something else in a phenomenon that's known as forum shopping. So please explain to us the prevalence of that.
Yes, it is quite prevalent, and I think, Sakina, you may be aware that a few weeks ago it played itself in the public about the Lithuanian lady who came to a party, Rob Hesselhoff's party in Cape Town. You remember that she ended up applying for asylum. So that's exactly an example of that forum shopping, where people come here as visitors, and once they've entered the country, they just try to move from one visa to the other, from one permit to the other, and say, now, look, I'm now applying for asylum. You are aware, Sakina, that asylum is something that is very serious. You are running away from a particular country. You don't discover when you are in South Africa that, oh, by the way, I'm supposed to be running away. Let me now apply. That is an example of forum shopping. And they found that it was being practiced, especially from 2018, when the committee said there was a spike of an entry of people through various visas, especially retirement, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, from Nigeria, and from India. That spike was in 2018, and there was a lot of this forum shopping, where people suddenly discover when they are in the country that they can apply for a different type of a visa.
And I suppose more shocking, Minister, is that someone as young as 25 would then be issued with a retirement visa.
Yes, exactly. Those are what they call errors. And you can realize this is not an error. And part of the reason they were doing so, Sakina, is because the Act is silent on retirement age. We know that the retirement age in South Africa is 60 years or 65 years. Depending on where you take it from. But in the Act, in the Immigration Act, it doesn't say anything about the retirement age of people who will come. But common sense and common law will tell you, you can't say a 25-year-old is retiring. But they were given those visas on that basis, and immediately they come in, they start applying for other visas like a job visa, a corporate visa, a study visa, when they are supposed to be in retirement.
Minister, I'm trying to catch my breath because all of this was really, really astonishing. And then it has been happening. And now only we're starting to see, what has been discovered to date. But there could, of course, be more layers to this. And just as you think, you've heard it all, you've seen it all, it gets worse or better, however you choose to look at it. And the study visas, for example, you mentioned to Parliament that in some instance, someone was granted a study visa in a day. Now, common sense would dictate that that is not possible, given all the checks and balances that need to be carried out.
Absolutely, Sakina. In fact, it's not just one. It's about 1,000 which were given in a day. When you give somebody a visa, you do investigations. For instance, for a study visa, you need to have to see evidence from that study institution that actually this person is being given permission to study there. You need to see their qualifications. You need to see a police record. You need to see all lots of things. All that cannot be done in one day, Sakina. So it is part of the corruption that has been unveiled. And I will regard that as it's coming better because we are now unveiling it. In the past, we didn't know about it. It was happening with the people who were entrusted with that work, but we were not aware. But now that we have unveiled them, we believe it's becoming better because we know the extent of the problem. And by the way, we've already started dismissing people, and we've already submitted a long list of people to the Hawks, Sakina. Long before the report came out, when we found out that some of the things are outright criminality, we called a big team of the Hawks, led by its head, General Lebeya. We sat with them for about 3 hours. We went through with them through these findings, and they've started very, very deep investigations.
So, Minister, these investigations, obviously into the officials who were involved in this, other agencies that may also be involved, those who offer services of applying or at least assisting people in applying for permits. And are you investigating the recipients as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Many of them have presented fraudulent documents. So we are investigating South Africans, we're investigating foreign nationals. We are investigating everybody in that space who participated in the acquiring or in the giving of these visas, to see exactly what was their role in acquiring such fraudulent visas. We have submitted names, not just numbers, names. And some of the names are of people from outside the country. Others are of people inside the country, especially in the Department of Home Affairs. That is what the Hawks are investigating. But you also heard that one of the main recommendations, which we have accepted fully, and we've already started working on it, is that we must appoint a multi-disciplinary team that consists of advocate, senior counsel, attorneys, senior counsel, forensic investigators, ICT experts, data analysts. They must sit down as a team and look at these names, because some people will have to be arrested, some visas will have to be withdrawn and recalled, some people will have to be followed up in their comfort wherever they are sitting to be deported because they are here fraudulently and they need to go back. You can't benefit from proceeds of a crime, because these are the proceeds of a crime. So we are going to investigate every corner. Whether you are a South African, regardless of how big you are inside the country, you're going to be investigated, and some reversals will have to be done.
And I think many South Africans would welcome this, Minister, because this particular issue is one that really dents the image of the country, so that when South Africans try to travel abroad to other countries, it places our passport under a microscope, and you are questioned because of all these type of activities that take place.
Indeed, Sakina, I was telling people, as you are sitting there, Sakina, these things affect you, because when yes, you are right, when people in other countries start seeing our passport being defrauded, as it were, they start scrutinizing you. You are aware that in the past, we used to enter Britain, for instance, visa-free, but now you have got to apply for a visa because they no longer trust our passport. We are going to work hard to eliminate all these things, so that we no longer have things like Leborang of Bangladesh, if you remember that episode. Yes.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yes, we are not only going to arrest, we are also doing technology, and in the recommendation, technology is there. For instance, one of the decisions we have taken is that we are no longer going to have two biometrics, a photo and a fingerprint. You remember, Leborang of Bangladesh happened because a South African enters a corrupt Home Affairs office with a corrupt official during the night, with a Pakistani national. You apply for a passport, you give your name, your fingerprint. When the time of a photo arrives, you move aside and the Pakistani takes the photo, or the Bangladeshi. It ends up being Leborang of Bangladesh. That is going to come to an end soon, because we are now instituting a new system called ABIS, Automated Biometric Information System, where we have got 5 biometrics, where there is a face recognition or a photo recognition, so that your photo and your fingerprint must match, and they must move together, and they must be recognized together. I'm happy to announce that we are already 99% towards migrating all South Africans who are on the National Population Register to migrate them to ABs. We've already done 48 million South Africans. That includes yourself, Sakina. You are on the system called HEMIS, Home Affairs Information System, where we store your fingerprint and your photo. We have now moved you to ABIS, Automated Biometric Information System, where we are going to have your photo, your fingerprint, photo, face recognition, iris recognition, palm print, and a heel print of children. This is what we are doing, and I'm happy that we are 99% towards migrating South Africans, but we still have a big job of now going to take your iris and all that so that the system is complete. Once that is complete, when you take a passport, your fingerprint and your photo must go together. It eliminates the possibility of anything called a Lebugang of Bangladesh ever happening. So technology is also going to play a part.
And I think, Minister, I was saying yesterday, blockchain technology is perhaps something that the department needs to look into as well, just to try and tighten up that system further. But Minister, we're out of time, but I just have to quickly touch on the issue of critical skills visas. And, because this is, of course, a very touchy subject in the public domain, where we've seen with, for example, truck drivers and the strikes that we've seen, our roads being barricaded by South Africans who say that this is not a scarce skill. How come there are more foreigners employed in the sector than South Africans? But your report also revealed some interesting information there.
Yes, indeed. It revealed that 38% of all the critical skills visas that were issued went to Zimbabwean nationals. It also revealed that 25% rather, of all the study visas also went to Zimbabwean nationals. It also revealed that 15% of all the work visas. Remember, this is in relation to the whole world, not to one part of the country, not to one region, but in relation to the whole world. Yes, that was found. A critical skills visa, Sakina, is misunderstood by quite a number of people, even very highly educated people. They believe it's a list of important professions. No, a critical skills list is a list, visa. The critical skills list is a document that shows skills that are critical to the economy, but are in short supply. I want to emphasize that, because when we're compiling it, there was a big fight from the legal profession that they must be on the critical skills list, that despite the fact that we're not running short of lawyers by any stretch of imagination in South Africa. So when we didn't put it there, we're not saying this is not important. We're saying it's in short supply. And indeed, you are right. Truck driving does not appear on the critical skills list. So is security. You don't need to hire somebody as a security officer from outside the country. Companies are doing so against the critical skills list. And I've already complained bitterly to CIRA, the private security the private security industry regulatory authority, that that should not be happening because it's not in the act. So, and the critical skills list by law, must be produced every 4 years. And we have just produced one at the present moment. It has got this list. It was worked together with the Department of Higher Education, Industry, Human Science Research Council, and even NETLEC, where you find business, you find labor, you find government, and you find civil society. We work together on that, and we produce that list, and we are busy perfecting wherever mistakes might have been made.
Well, Minister, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And I think, all law-abiding South Africans would say, if you have nothing to hide, then this shouldn't upset you in any way, shape or form. Well, Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Motsoaledi there, having a discussion with us, looking at some of the anomalies that have occurred in the issuing of permits to foreign nationals. And there was an investigation done into some of these issues since the year 2004, and the minister sharing some of the outcomes and also what will be done about what they have found.